This is Sports 225 with Lee Feinswag. Sports 225 with Lee Feinswag is Baton Rouge's longest running and best television show. Who would have believed that?
My best friend, Lee Feinswag, with the Christmas.
Sports 225 is brought to you by Breck. Remember, it all starts at Breck. Now, your host, Lee Feinswag.
Take two. Well, we started the show once already, but sometimes things happen. So you don't know that. Here it is. It's the beginning of Sports 225. And I've got a great half hour ahead of me because Ron Higgins is here. He covers LSU and the SEC for NOLA.com. And he's one of my favorite guys to talk to, and he cracks me up. And as a rule,
We're just funny human beings.
we have our moments.
We just sit there, we'll write something, then we'll laugh at it ourselves.
You know, writing funny is the single hardest thing. And a lot of times I can think over the years where I wrote something and I go, oh, this is really good, and had no impact. People didn't get the joke or whatever because you don't have any inflection in your voice. You don't have any timing. It's just simply the writing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's just either, it's kind of, you know it's funny or it's not, and you try to relate to something that's going on that people can get, and not some kind of, something you write that's, then people go, what's that even talking about,
Well, hopefully they won't do that while we're talking in this show, and it's not.
Like the other day when I wrote a column about this whole debacle with changing the game, ESPN changing the game somewhere, and how quickly the decision will come. I said the decision will probably, probably come pretty quick. I said because Florida's not involved. People got that.
They got that.
They got that from last year's the SEC debacle with Florida. So, that said, going to the game, like you said, today's Tuesday. Game was changed yesterday.
Yeah, well, luckily, let me jump in here. Yeah. So we're shooting on Tuesday, and luckily we got the word before this that the LSU BYU game scheduled for Houston is not going to be played in Houston and is going to New Orleans, and it has not been a boring couple of days.
No, I mean, if you've lived in South Louisiana, New Orleans, you feel for the people in Houston. I mean, they're going. I mean, if you've ever been to Houston, that city's basically built on four bayous. Four bayous run through the city of Houston. And even when they get like 4 inches of rain, they're going to have flash flooding. Now they're 25 to 30, and it's terrible. And they had to move the game, looked at a bunch of different cities, and, they settled on New Orleans. They're rolling the dice a bit because it's still raining, but they feel like it'll be a steady rain and not a downpour, which would be a problem. So they also think about Friday and Saturday, everything will be okay. And they are playing indoors. Every venue they looked at, besides New Orleans, was far away and still outside.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, because one of the first things I did was just looking around was I looked to see what was happening in Dallas, and there's a 2:30 p.m. game with I think it's Michigan, Florida.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so that at 2:30 that precludes anything before then, and it's too late to do anything that night. So it's not like you could have done a doubleheader, so to speak.
Well, you know what? ESPN was doing their LSU start time's 8:30, so they probably could have done that. Back to the days of the old. I don't know. This is probably before your time here, but growing up in Baton Rouge in the '60s, LSU would often play doubleheaders in Jackson. LSU would play Ole Miss, and then Alabama would play Mississippi State day night.
In that old Jackson Memorial Stadium?
Yeah, it happened often.
Really?
Yeah. It happened often. It was a great day of football. You go see LSU Ole Miss in the afternoon. That night they'd have Mississippi State and Alabama, and sometimes it would be LSU Mississippi State. It would switch up. But yeah, I always wanted to see when they first talked about the national championship playoff. I always wanted to see the semifinals in one place and a day-night doubleheader.
Yeah.
And I was kind of of course that'd be copied off of basketball, and by God, football doesn't want to copy off a good idea from basketball. Never.
No, because that whole Final Four thing hasn't worked out too well.
No, not at all. Not at all.
I didn't know that about Jackson.
Yeah. It was just a fun. It happened several times.
And back then, it probably was easy to turn that stadium around because there's no seats.
Right.
It's all just cement.
Yeah.
So you could go on in there with blowers and sweep it out.
Absolutely.
You could probably turn that thing around
turn
in a short
quick.
period of time.
Yeah. Turn quick. But I thought about that. But when ESPN talked about Dallas, they were talking about the 85-year-old Cotton Bowl Stadium, and not, that would just on the surface. LSU was like a second-class citizen playing in Cotton Bowl Stadium, and then not a great part of Dallas. Stadiums, you can only put so much paint in that stadium, and make it look good. And so, I mean, they looked at other places kind of far away. Orlando was kind of far away. LSU didn't sell great in Orlando last year for the bowl game. Nashville was an option, but rain's going that way.
Correct.
And so, I guess I'd say roll
Did
the dice.
BYU offer to host?
No.
Okay.
I mean, I thought LSU offered to host. I thought, LSU would say, you know what, we'll host, and if you come play here, we'll return the game within 5 years up there. That'd be a trip that LSU fans would love because they've never been that part of the country for a game, ever. I think the furthest they've gone is Arizona.
And just as an aside, let me tell you, Utah is the best kept secret in America.
Oh, it's beautiful.
It's fantastic. Not only is Provo, Utah, a cool town, Salt Lake City is like a great city. People have this misconception that it's like real staid and laid back and you can't get a drink there. I will tell you, I've killed a few brain cells in Salt Lake City. And then the options of going to all the national parks like Zion, Bryce, Canyonlands, Arches, go to Moab. Oh, LSU fans could have the most spectacular.
Yeah, I
trip
mean,
out there.
we've been there for NCAA tournaments in regional settings.
Salt Lake for sure.
Beautiful. I mean, that said, they chose New Orleans, and I think this was a fascinating matchup between the Mormons and the French Quarter, and something called the Decadence Festival this weekend.
Oh no, Decadence Festival is
Yes.
this weekend?
Yes.
Oh, it doesn't get any better than that.
Yeah.
All right, I want you to hold that thought. We'll talk more about this game. We got to talk about a handful of other things while you're here. He's Ron Higgins. He covers LSU and the SEC for NOLA.com. I'm Lee Feinswag at Sports 225.
Hi, I'm Joe Martin, president of ITI Technical College, and we are so excited to have been awarded Forbes magazine's top 30 two-year technical colleges in America. To achieve this award, ITI was recognized for our high scores in 1, earnings of our graduates, 2, quality of education, and 3, affordability. To learn more, we invite you to visit our campus or go online. ITI Technical College. Begin your journey to a better life.
Back on Sports 225, hanging out with Ron Higgins. In the last segment, we mostly talked about the LSU-BYU football game getting moved to New Orleans. I just want to pick up on that just real quickly. Is there a competitive difference from playing that game in Houston or going to the Superdome?
I mean, there'd probably be more LSU fans, but I think BYU blocked it going to New Orleans because they think it'd be, more of a competitive advantage. Well, in Houston, LSU had sold 23,000 tickets. BYU sold 10,000, and it'd still been a nice little chunk.
In New Orleans, they'll sell maybe 50,000.
Yeah, they'll sell more.
Yeah.
So either way, there's going to be a competitive disadvantage. The biggest competitive disadvantage is basically speed on the field. That's not in the stands; it's on the field.
I wrote a story that came out Monday on our website, volleyballmag.com, and about how the Houston Hurricane and the subsequent flooding is affecting the volleyball world over there, and it's no small thing. But the hotel that LSU was supposed to stay at, the Omni, was flooded. The roads are impassable. I mean, you couldn't even get to Houston anyway. I-10 was closed.
Yeah.
This is Tuesday, right outside of Beaumont. There's a section that's closed. I was supposed to go to College Station this coming weekend for a big volleyball tournament. I could probably get there, but I figured I got to go a certain way on I-10, then cut north, maybe circle back. And it's just not worth it. And then with the concept of the storm actually moving north and to the east, I could get boxed in, which there's a lot of places I want to be boxed into, and College Station, Texas is not one of them.
The only way you can get is go towards Shreveport and loop back around,
I know.
and then the storm is kind of going that way anyway.
Yeah,
which
yeah.
is,
So it's no good. And in Houston, and if for any reason you haven't watched the news and seen the pictures, holy shnikey. Houston's become like a cement bowl. Like you talked about the four bayous, and it's flat, and there's so much development. There's just no place for all that water to go, and it's incomprehensible. I mean, I assume this is probably getting close to 50 inches, maybe something in here.
Yeah, I mean, you watch it, and it's like up to the bottom of freeways.
Amazing.
Tall freeways.
I have a friend who lives in downtown Houston in a high-rise that overlooks the convention center and the Toyota Center on the 32nd floor. His place is dry. Got that going for him.
Probably barely.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really bad, and I think everybody involved was glad the decision was made, yesterday. I mean, it should have been made pretty quick, and they did make the decision. But like I said, they looked at a lot of different places, and they might be rolling the dice a bit with New Orleans, but they've talked to enough people to think that they'll be okay by Friday and Saturday.
So in the combined 4 or 5 minutes that you've been able to watch the LSU football team practice this preseason,
The best team I've never seen.
you have any thoughts about the actual game itself? Is this a game that LSU should win no matter what, or is BYU?
BYU has a nice defense. They do. I mean, their defense is a lot of big human beings. The whole thing is BYU simply doesn't have LSU speed. They don't have LSU speed. They're not even close to it.
Right.
That alone should, if LSU comes out and plays hard, and I think they will, because I don't think they really haven't had a game yet under Orgeron where they didn't play hard. I mean, maybe they didn't play smart sometimes, but they didn't play hard. And this is an opener. They'll be into it. LSU should win by at least a couple of touchdowns basically because of the quickness. If you watch BYU and Portland State last week, BYU's offense was just awful, and the defense was okay, but again it was Portland State. But there are some people on BYU's defense who could give LSU some problems, especially off the edge. But I think people just can't wait for this opener because they just can't wait to see a different offense and some of the different things it's going to do, and how Danny Etling fits in this offense as a starting quarterback and won the job and is healthy, throwing the ball better. So I think that's the biggest anticipation is they can't wait to watch an offense they hadn't seen ever here.
I'm really curious, though, when it's all said and done the last few years, whether it was intelligently designed or they were forced into it. It was basically a 65-35, 65% run, 35% pass. I don't know that when it's all said and done, the numbers are going to be that different for LSU. Now, you may see the passing come in different places, and you may see less predictability in the way LSU does run the ball and the way it does pass the ball and the way it moves around. But I think that your stats are going to be somewhat similar. Oh, I can't believe that. I
think it'll be like 60-40. But I also think the runs will come from different places. It won't be just a straight handoff. You'll see a lot of jet sweeps. You'll see the ball get to their playmakers in different ways. I think the play calling will be different. But again, I mean, Matt Cannon's not stupid. He knows who the bread and butter is in the offense. When you have running backs like Geis and Darrell Williams, who had a good spring and fall, freshman from Calicut, and Nick Brissett, the running backs are really good. So he knows that's.
So run the ball.
Yeah, but he also knows that they got to get the ball to playmakers in different ways, and that's what they plan to do. And his biggest thing is he's always said from the very beginning. He always says even the players don't agree with him. He says my playbook isn't that complicated. What's complicated is it's a certain amount of plays, but it comes from different formations and different motions and different looks. So he can run the same play from so many different looks. It looks like he's running a different play. His whole thing is what LSU fans have won forever. Let's don't make the defense comfortable. Let them just sit there and see what's coming. And that's what his whole thing is. We don't want the defense to sit there and know what's coming. And I think we'll see how it goes. I mean, I've looked up what he's done in his first games, everywhere he's been as a coordinator. He's undefeated. The penalties, he hadn't had more than three penalties in a game in the first game.
You looked all this up?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Look at you.
Yeah, I do my research. I try. I don't just throw something out there. But I want to see because especially in the first game, especially with a new offense, you expect a lot of penalties. Especially what he does, motion, and there are probably not more than 3 or 4 penalties in a game, and two of them were holding, 3 are holding. So there wasn't a lot of motion, not jumping off sides, a lot of formation screw ups. So
Do you know what this penalty is?
Delay of the game.
Yeah, that's what you're doing right now. Got to go to a break.
Go ahead. He is so funny.
If I only had a flag.
Yeah.
You're killing me. He's Ron Higgins. I'm Lee Feinswag at Sports 225.
Don't let the bed bugs bite you. We'll put them to sleep.
Bed bugs can be transported from most anywhere. Hotels, department stores, even a friend's house.
We've got the bead on bed bugs. Call the bug man today.
Call 923-BUGS.
I started laughing and coughing. I thought I was gonna not make it, but I did. It's good. All right, we're back on Sports 225. We've been talking a lot of LSU football, but I gotta ask Ron, did you ever bump into or interview Judd Heathcote, the Michigan State coach? He was legendary, of course, most well known for coaching Magic Johnson. He died this week.
Only like in a Final Four, and there's one of those guys that, like a Billy Tubbs, unforgettable character.
So when I wrote the book Hoop Daddy, it came out around, 2003, 2004, about father-sons in basketball. At the end of the book, I had put in there, if you ever want to talk hoops, here's my email, here's my phone number. So one day, about a year later, I'm in the house, ring, ring, hello, Lee? Yeah? He goes, my name's Judd Heathcote. I'm a retired old basketball coach. You may have never heard of me, and I go, Judd, of course I've heard of you. And I said, I'm blown away by the fact that you're calling me. I said, what's happening? Well, I just read Hoop Daddy. Somebody gave it to me. I loved it, and I want to talk about it. I said, cool. So I'm on the phone with Judd Heathcote for a pretty long time, and he's a pretty funny guy. Well, he asks about Dale Brown and LSU because he knows I live in Baton Rouge, and he goes, yeah, and he starts talking, and he goes, yeah, he goes, we recruited against them now and then. He goes, yeah, there was that guy in the 80s from California, John Williams, right? And I go, yeah, I say John Williams. He goes, oh, yeah, John Williams. Yeah, they went to the Final Four, yeah. And he goes, we thought we might have had him. And he goes, but we dropped out at 30,000. I almost fell off the chair. We dropped out at 30,000. I said, oh, well, no telling what he went for. Remember, John Williams had himself a convertible baby blue BMW on campus when he was playing basketball at LSU. Still, to this day, the single best all-around basketball player that I've ever seen LSU have for one season, the 1986 year that they went to the Final Four. He later went to the NBA and gained a bazillion pounds. Yeah. And had injuries and stuff, but for one season, he was stunning.
I'll probably date myself, but when you looked at John Williams, you kind of thought of George McGinnis.
Yeah, in a way, yeah.
Thick body, kind of.
But he could glide. Of course, George McGinnis was a center.
Yeah.
Williams was like a point forward back then before it was fashionable to be one.
McGinnis was actually more of a forward, but he had that strikes like in one hand shot. But yeah, that's what it reminded me of. But yeah,
if you're a hardcore hoopster and you don't know this, you need to go maybe even do some YouTube. Go look up Indiana Pacers, ABA, George McGinnis, Darnell Hillman, those guys. And I'm telling you, it was unbelievable. And you'll get some old Dr. J footage in there before he went to the NBA. If you think he was good in the NBA, they show that move always when he's playing the Lakers where he goes underneath the hoop and does that. The stuff I saw in the ABA, I got to go to the ABA games. We used to go see the New Jersey Nets, or they were then the New York Nets, playing out on Long Island where I grew up. And I saw those guys. But I'm telling you, you go back and you look at that stuff, oh my gosh.
The fabulous league, Kentucky Colonels, with Dampier and Issel, Denver Nuggets, this tremendous ABA was fabulous. That's why the NBA knew, we got these.
We could spend the whole next show just telling ABA stories. But my all-time favorite's Marvin Barnes.
Oh yeah.
Marvin Barnes. They're on the plane. They're in Indianapolis, and they're going to fly to St. Louis. And the pilot gets on and says, "Ladies and gentlemen, it's 8:01. We'll be taking off in a minute. We should be in St. Louis at 7:59." Marvin Barnes stands up and goes, "I ain't flying in no time machine," and gets off the plane and rents a limousine.
Butch Van Briticoff told me one time, he coached the Memphis team.
Right.
He goes,
and the New Orleans Jazz with Pete Maravich.
He goes, I got so mad one time. He goes, I kicked my leg out. And he goes, I'm wearing loafers. He goes, my shoe flew off up in the crowd. So he says, for 10 minutes I'm coaching with one loafer until they passed the shoe back like it was passing a drink. They finally handed his loafer back.
Oh, the ABA was great. I'm telling you, if you don't know the ABA, but
great book, ABA book.
Yeah.
Was it Loose Balls?
Yes.
Terry Pluto.
Loose Balls.
From Cleveland. Great book.
Got it. And as long as you mentioned book, because I wanted to talk about this in the remaining time we have left. I asked Ron before, I said, how in the world does Alabama do it? Like, seriously, how does Alabama just simply reload and become the best every single year? And you said that a book by Phil Savage and our friend Ray Glear.
Yeah, it just came out about start of August. It's called Fourth and Goal Every Day.
Mm-hmm.
Phil Savage was a defensive assistant under Saban in Cleveland. Now he's a senior bowl director, also Alabama's color analyst. And Saban trusts him so much that Phil will break down game film of other teams. And so they have a relationship. And obviously, Saban trusts him. And you read about how Saban puts together a team, how he recruits, what he looks for, and just everything. After you read this book, you're like, well, until Nick retires, everybody else is playing for second place. It's just he's so far ahead of everybody else. This is the best insight I've ever seen on how Nick Saban, how he works.
I'm going to call my boy Ray Glear in Atlanta, who's a friend of mine, and see if I can get a free copy. But if not, I'll buy one.
Great book.
We'll share it.
Yeah.
All right. He's Ron Higgins. I'm Lee Feinswag. We got to take one last break on Sports 225.
See that dog lover? About to unleash the terror hound on these friendly, unsuspecting canines? Well, I'm the human dislike button, and I see it too. Easy there, Cujo. Taking part in a dog socialization program at a shelter or pet store can help nip this problem in the bud. And no matter how well socialized your pet is, cleaning up the little rays of sunshine they leave in their merry wake is your responsibility. To learn more about me, go to breck.org/HDB.
Down the home stretch of another Sports 225. Ron Higgins is here from NOLA.com. Thanks to the guys from JCW for directing the show. Remember to go to sports225.com to get all the listings for when we're on Cox 4, which is now called Your View, and Cox Sports Television CST, and to watch the archives of all the shows. You can go back and watch any of the shows on which you've been the guest.
Just to make sure I didn't repeat my one-liners?
No, most of the time you have new stuff.
Okay, good.
That's good. Yeah.
Good.
So in this short time we have left, and since this is the last show before the LSU football season begins, a record, a prediction?
You did like a Karnak?
Yeah.
5 away games in the SEC because of the Florida thing last year. Most of it, I don't know if anybody's ever played 5 SEC road games in SEC history. Mm-hmm. New offense, some people replaced on defense. The worst scenario was 8-4. The best was 10-2. I'm settling on 9-3. I'm gonna say 9-3.
All right. I have them starting out 5-0 and then going 7-5. I think the Florida game is the key game to the season. At that point, a victory there, all of a sudden you're 6-0, and even with the toughest part of the schedule ahead, that's significant. Lose that game, you're 5-1, and chinks in the armor will have been detected.
Okay.
That's just what I got. All right. National championship?
Alabama versus Ohio State. I'm not.
The usual suspects, the two best coaches?
Yeah, two best coaches who battled forever, ever since Urban came to Florida and a long time ago. It was nothing but, big battle the whole time. So, yeah, that's it.
All right. Follow you on Twitter at Ron Higg, with 2 G's.
2 G's.
Read his stuff at NOLA.com.
That's right.
And of course, he's a frequent and fabulous guest on
and Buddy the
225.
Wonder Bee Sean's Facebook page.
Oh, yeah, Buddy the Wonder Bee Sean. All right, thanks for coming on.
Absolutely.
Thanks for watching. Next time I talk to you, it'll be after the first LSU football game. We'll see what we got. I'm Lee Feinswag. Thanks for watching Sports 225. And give us a great fadeaway. And go away.
There you go.
See you. Good night.
At carnival time by Baton Rouge Bay, that's the site of my story. At Spanish Town Mardi Gras, things can get blurry. See the Moors marching, prizes fill the sky. This Spanish Town Mardi Gras